Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Trailblazing Radical Pleasurist series. And today I have the beautiful Allison Braun. I am so excited to have her with us today. Let me just tell you a little bit about how she came into my world, because this was seriously a goddess send. I I was at a live event just a few months ago, and really didn't know anything about her, but I started looking her up because she was on the docket for this event. And as soon as I read about what she stands for and what she is offering in the world, I was like, I am even more excited to be going to this event. And I hung on pretty much every word that she was saying. And I'll never forget, she is the queen of ease. That's what, is that okay that I call you that? Because that's really...
It's going around. Might as well embrace it.
Yes, that is how I feel about you. And whenever I feel like I'm going into, I'm going to say the H word, hustle. I know you don't like that word. See, there's that face. When I asked a question at this live event about hustling, I was feeling very heavy at that time. And I'll never forget your face when I asked the question about hustling. You had this mix of frustration and heartbreak. So tell us about that. What, this queen of ease, how did that come about for you?
It's definitely been a journey. I remember that moment really distinctly. That was like a full on moment, that one right there.
I remember.
So my background is in holistic health, and then I went from there and doing energy work to doing sexuality coaching. And so pleasure. So like, thank you, Sophia, for doing your work. I'm a big advocate for pleasure and always have been. And as I started, there was a lot of stuff that came up when I was doing that work around women feeling like they had to like do all these things before they were worthy of like rewarding themselves or experiencing pleasure. And I see it still in my business now where I'm doing business coaching. It's like women feel like they have, well, not even just women, but men and women are feeling more and more like they have to do all of these things and work hard and longer in order to be worthy of and deserving of what they really want, when actually there's no correlation between those two things. How hard you work has no connection to what you're worthy of. Like none. Zip. Like you can see the person sitting on their couch making millions and the person that's like working their butt off 15 hours a day at a farm making next to nothing. Like there's no steadfast rule about how hard you work is how much you're going to make. And so I'm not an advocate of avoiding working or any of that. I don't think being lazy is going to get us anywhere, but I also feel like that's not an issue for most of us. Most of us have a tendency to work too hard. And I just want to see that stop. I want women to feel like they know that they're innately worthy just by being who they are. And so then they can spend more time actually cultivating their beingness and their true gifts rather than feeling like they have to do all these actions that aren't actually in alignment with that.
Yes, thank you so much. And that is why I wanted to interview you, is because you're truly a trailblazer in the way that you speak so openly and adamantly about leading from this place. You called it feminine, doing it business the feminine way. And there aren't enough women entrepreneurs, women business coaches who are talking about it. I still see them. I encounter many business coaches in my world, and they're still in that highly masculine space. And there's no judgment. I always talk about there's no judgment, there's no right or wrong. It's a flow. But for women to get to tap into that intuition more and not to should all over themselves like they do.
Yes.
And one thing is that really inspired me about you is that I'd never met a business coach who had also come from doing intimacy coaching, who would really understand. It's kind of ironic. Like I'm in the space of teaching women about living in pleasure, and sometimes I have to catch myself when I'm not living from that space. And you both live from that space. It's very apparent. And you're also teaching and mentoring from that space. And what led you to shift from your intimacy coaching into helping women grow their businesses from ease and pleasure and joy?
Well, I had been learning about online marketing for like a very long time, which is why I built a really successful business doing intimacy and sexual expression coaching, because I was able to like actually utilize all the things that I'd been learning about and put them into practice. And I was like, I geeked out on that stuff. I loved it. Like I loved everything business, with maybe a few exceptions. So that was like one of the funnest parts for me, was like navigating, creating a location independent business that was really successful, but still had a great impact for people from all different countries, not just where I lived. And so eventually I started doing a retreat called the Pleasure Retreat, and like 80-90% of the women ended up asking me for support finding what their purpose was, because I really saw and always had seen a big connection between our sexual expression and just like our comfortability in expressing ourselves fully, period, with our connection to our purpose. And so that was always really present in my work when I was doing sexual expression coaching. Women naturally were coming to me with that disconnect from their purpose, because that was a big part of my journey as well. Like connecting to my purpose was a big part of connecting to my sexuality and embracing it. So I saw the connection between those two things, and naturally attracted women who felt that and wanted support with that. And I also happened to be really amazing at business and strategy. And so I have always kind of integrated those two things together. It was just a matter of like switching titles and focusing on slightly different things, because eventually, I mean, I love talking about sexuality and all of that stuff, but it got to the point after a couple of years where it's like, I really just kind of want to geek out on purpose and business and be working with women who are creating businesses. That was such a big part of my life that I wanted to be working with other women that were doing that too.
Yes, creative and sexual energy are the same. And where else do we get to express ourselves creatively than as entrepreneurs? And where else do we get to be challenged every freaking day?
Right? And personal growth full time.
And listening to ourselves and using all of that juicy energy that's in us, and where it's stagnant and where it's being blocked, and how we're expressing it, whether it's through orgasm or through the crown chakra or whatever. So I love that you truly listen to women. That is the hallmark of a true entrepreneur, is listening to women and what they need, and then taking what you love and your own purpose in the world and just letting that manifest easefully.
Yes.
How it wanted to be expressed in the world. And again, thank Goddess for you listening to that call. One thing that just came up for me is, what kind of haters or slack have you gotten from the perhaps entrepreneurial world or the business coaching world, saying you're full of shit, like you have to, do this way, or you have, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
What has come up in that way, if anything?
Can I be really honest?
Please.
My ego has been the worst, probably, out of it. I haven't actually really gotten that much flack or pushback even from my community, from the like entrepreneurial community. Most of even my mastermind that I'm in, it's like very, masculine, highly functioning like strategists, and they embrace it. Like they're so grateful to have that balance and the encouragement to like bring that other side in. And so most people that I've encountered are actually like super stoked about it. The most challenging part is usually my ego, and like, not that it happens a lot, but it's like, oh, you're being lazy, and because I am actually really great at strategy. That's like a big part of my work. And so it's like, oh, like you should use all these things that you know, like go, go, go. And luckily I can catch that really quickly and I don't really go into it, but that's really the worst out of anything.
Yeah, thanks for being honest about that and being honest about the fact that you still have an inner critic, because I think some women believe that there's a point where there's no inner critic, and that's never the case.
I've made it. It's fine now.
Right. It's our relationship with that voice and
Mm-hmm.
the voice, the inner guidance that we choose to listen to. So I'm glad you're talking about that, because I hope it's providing hope for women to say, oh, it actually gets louder when you are taking leaps and bigness and letting your creativity, your sexual juiciness express itself through whatever ideas, projects, inspiration that you have.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Like, you're right. Like, it not only does it not go away, it often it does get more intense and stronger. And all it is about creating those tools and resources to navigate it so that it doesn't hold you back, at least for as long. Because it does not matter what level you're at in your sexuality, in your business, in your relationships, like stuff comes up and it's about embracing it, which is what makes it easy. It's the resistance and fighting it that makes it hard.
Right. I actually, when my inner critic is really loud, I'm like, yes, something big is happening. I have the most fear. I know when I have the most fear, I'm like, oh, awesome. Thanks for coming around, but you can step down for now.
I got it. We're good.
Yeah. And I imagine that in your offerings to women that you talk about and you help women navigate through the inner critic stuff.
Yeah, actually, I had a really interesting insight probably within the last 2 weeks that I was like, oh, like I've never identified as a mindset coach ever. And I still don't. I'm like, oh, like pretty much all of my work now is mindset work. Right. Because I mean, that's what really, you can have all the strategy and action steps in the world. But if your belief systems aren't in alignment with where you're wanting to go, you're just going to be taking all that action for no reason, which is why, like, I think ease comes so naturally for me, because like there's the balance of the masculine and feminine. Like I go inward and then I receive the guidance and then I take the outward action, or I go inward, I clear some of the stuff and then I take action. So it's not just like action, yes, but then having those underlying belief systems continuously reflected back to you and not getting anywhere.
Yes, it's the guided action that if we sit and let ourselves be in silence, or let ourselves have the fun and let ourselves do things that are pleasurable. I love every time I read something that you post, it's like, yes, reminder. And I'm in that space too, of just like, I'm just going to trust. I'm just going to be in my full feminine. I'm going to trust and surrendering. And when it comes, and it might take a while for that inspiration idea to come, but I know that it'll come. And when it comes, then I can take some guided action. And I hope anybody listening to this will really let that be a seed, either be planted or watered, and allow it to germinate. Because this is really, I think, the future of business. It's coming from this guided space and not comparisonitis or what needs to be happening or whatever. And it's really about connecting in relationships.
Yeah. One of the things that you said really stood out to me, Sophia, and that's like, it might take longer than what we think. And I think that's one of the more challenging parts of a feminine ran business. So like you said, like masculine is essential. Like there's nothing, masculine is amazing. Thank you. But the feminine needs to guide the masculine action. And the most challenging part, if you're going down this path, is that trust and surrender, and knowing like, it's like, oh, sure, I'll trust and surrender, but only for 2 weeks. And then I have to take action because that's what my calendar plans out for. And it's like, sometimes it takes a year or 6 months or Sometimes
Right.
it only takes a day. You never really know. And that's why it's trust and surrender. It's not trust and surrender because you have it marked in your calendar.
Right.
Unfortunately, sometimes.
Right.
But
Yeah.
like those are the moments. And I'm saying this, I think I'm reiterating this because I see this happening a lot, especially for women that are probably in your community that are wanting this path and they're already taking it and they're being hard on themselves because they're like, well, I did, I did do that, but nothing happened. And it's not that nothing's happening. It's just that you might have to hang tight for a little bit longer and deepen into that trust when it gets really challenging to go there. And that's when the magic really happens.
Yes, I feel it so much when you're talking about this. Like it's really rising up in me. I'm feeling so emotional about this because I mean, this is very personal to me and what's been going on in my life. And I know this is just from what I'm reading, women posting in my groups and on my timeline and all of this stuff, and women I'm talking to. It's just women, we have to get back into our feminine, and the feminine is all trust. It's all surrender. It's all creativity. It's all expression. And exactly what you're saying, it's not on a timeline. You cannot speed up Goddess. She's going to do what she wants to do. And she's
Not linear.
yeah, and she just wants you to be open and for you to have your body ready and your mind and your heart and all of that ready for her to be expressed through you. So thank you so much for this reminder. This is
I need it for myself too.
yes, right, exactly. Yes, thank you. And one more thing, what gives you the most pleasure in working with women?
Mm, there's a lot. The most pleasure. I think like the most pleasure that I have received in working with these women, it often comes when we are in retreat, and it's usually towards the end of the retreat after like stuff has come up, it's been alchemized, and like we've softened, we're like getting comfortable with each other, and like there's these moments at the end where you can visually see a different person, like everything just, even their face looks different. And there's dancing and there's laughter and there's cuddling, and I have a tendency to see their vision far beyond what they're even aware of when I first meet them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's in those moments when I see parts of my vision start to, for that person, come to reality, that I'm like, yes, this is what it's all about. And that's one of my like favorite things.
I feel you, sister. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So you all got a little snippet of the wonderful Allison. I'm going to have all the ways that you can connect with her along with this video. Please, please follow her, connect with her. She is here for you to live in your joy and pleasure. Thank you so much, Allison. This has been amazing.
Thanks for having me and for listening to my rants and my school sometimes.
Love it. Love it all. All right,
Yeah,
my friends, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.